To start building passive income, we have to look at the money sitting in your checking account right now. Keeping a standard savings account pays 3 or 4% interest, but annual inflation runs closer to 8%, your money is shrinking by roughly 4% a year. The math works entirely against you. This cash parked in a traditional bank account mathematically guarantees you are steadily losing your purchasing power every single day. When a standard internet advice to solve this is simply to buy assets. But financial influencers group entirely different vehicles into one vague bucket, making it sound like anyone can execute every strategy. Treating a 500 rupee monthly index fund investment the same as inventing and licensing a patentable technology is absurd. They demand completely different levels of money, time, and expertise, so we need a better framework. We are going to evaluate the 8 primary passive income assets, not by their maximum possible return, but by what they actually demand from you. Achieving financial freedom comes from accurately matching an asset class to your specific personal bandwidth and current capital. The first category is low-barrier accumulators. These are hands-off vehicles designed for consistent growth without needing your daily attention. Government and corporate bonds operate as fixed-term loans. You lend your cash to an institution, and in exchange, they pay you a guaranteed annual return, returning your principal at the end of the term. The trade-off is yield. A typical bond pays between 6 and 8%. It protects your principal, but it barely outpaces inflation, prioritizing preservation over aggressive growth. For high-impact wealth accumulation, the average earner needs to look at mutual funds and index funds. Through a systematic investment plan, or SIP, you can automate small, low-capital investments every month into a basket of the market's top-performing companies. While individual stocks fluctuate wildly, broad market indices like the Sensex have historically averaged around a 14% long-term return, heavily rewarding those who let their investments compound. The cost is emotional discipline. To realize those gains, you must ignore short-term market crashes and hold your position for a decade or more. If you are a budget-conscious beginner or a professional with zero free time, these low-barrier automated assets offer the most realistic escape from the wage earner trap. Next are the high-capital anchors. These assets offer exceptional yields, but the barrier to entry is steep. Real estate is powerful because it offers a dual return: the long-term appreciation of the property value itself, paired with a recurring monthly cash flow from renters. But physical property ties up massive amounts of cash. It is highly illiquid, and managing tenants and maintenance issues requires serious active effort. Direct stock investing is another anchor. Selecting individual companies can yield outsized returns of 15% or more, but it requires expert-level research. Long-term shareholders in established companies also receive dividends, which is a direct, recurring cut of the corporate profits. The danger of direct stocks is the capital risk. If you don't possess a deep understanding of the market, you can quickly lose your initial investment. Real estate and direct stocks provide the highest ceiling for cash flow, but for most people, managing them functions a lot like a part-time job. The final category consists of niche assets that serve highly specific situational purposes, emergency hedges, and intellectual property hustles. During a global crisis, people naturally default to hoarding physical necessities to protect their families. In those moments, holding strategic liquid cash becomes an asset. It allows you to lend privately at high interest rates or swoop in to buy distressed property when the market crashes. Physical commodities like gold serve as a safe haven when economic stability falters. But a block of gold doesn't pay rent or dividends. It generates zero recurring income, relying entirely on the hope its price will appreciate. Intellectual property is the opposite of a physical hedge. Authoring books or creating original content can generate scalable, long-term royalty income for decades. Similarly, owning a trademark or an iconic brand name allows you to earn licensing fees every time another company uses your logo. But the cost of intellectual property is massive upfront labor. It demands highly specialized skills and thousands of unpaid hours, with absolutely no guarantee of commercial success. These are advanced tools. Commodities protect the wealth you have already accumulated, while intellectual property monetizes the talent you have already built. Building wealth isn't about collecting all 8 of these assets. It is about identifying the one vehicle that fits your current constraints. To find your starting point, we look at the primary constraint. Do you have a high amount of upfront capital? If your capital is low, ignore real estate and patents. Your optimal move is to set up index funds and let time do the heavy lifting. If you have a high income but zero free time, the answer is the same. Use index funds for aggressive growth and bonds for stability to avoid taking on a second job in asset management. If you do have significant cash and you want to be actively involved, real estate and direct stocks are the strongest vehicles to combine regular cash flow with long-term appreciation. And if you lack capital but possess immense specialized skill and free time, focus your energy on building intellectual property that you can license down the road. Passive income is never actually free. You pay for it up front with your money or your sweat. Figure out which currency you have more of right now and put it to work.